Entering the atmosphere in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Omega Metroid podcast, coming at you live at 9, almost 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time in California. This might be the latest episode of the Omega Metroid podcast we've ever recorded in the history of this podcast, but I am not alone today, thank goodness. I'm with my friend Joey Ferris, another diehard Metroid fan that you probably are well aware of. Joey, how are you doing on this lovely, I almost said lovely day, this lovely night that we're having here?
Hey, it's daytime somewhere, but speaking of that, I should probably warn you that after 10 p.m., my filter is just gone. So if anything I say after 10 p.m. in the next 1 minute is completely, it doesn't count, basically. I can't be held responsible.
Okay, well, I might be utilizing the Metroid sensor sound effect quite a bit tonight.
Yes.
Hopefully not. I do want this to be a relatively short edit, as I do have work tomorrow.
Well,
But
you're in for a bad night, buddy. I'm just kidding.
oh boy. Yeah, before we get started on today's very exciting topic, there is a couple of news bulletin things that I want to address. But first off, for the people that might have tuned into last week's episode, you know that Andy had to step out at the last second, and I kind of had to finish the last of the episode out. And Andy is also going to be gone for the next couple of weeks. I don't want to get into the specific details right now. For those of you who are in the Discord, you know what Andy and Sam are going through right now, and yeah, he needs a little bit of time to recover, but he will be back relatively soon. In the meantime, though, if you could wish the two of them, some wishes and your thoughts, I know they would both really appreciate that right now. On to some lighter news, though. Next week, our co-host Dak is going to be joining us, and unlike me, who lives in California, Mr. Dakota Latsky lives in New York City.
Mm,
Um, and that is of course my segue to say, "Go New York, go New York, go!" I seriously, congratulations to the New York Knicks. Genuinely, an absolutely historic championship. Easily the best finals that I've ever seen in my lifetime. OG Ananobi, Jalen Brunson, Jose Alvarado, that entire team, coached by Mike Brown, former Kings coach by the way, still
what?
in.
I didn't know this.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, that yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, our idiot owners fired him in back in 2024, and I hope they're feeling just awful right now.
Oh my God. Was he the coach when the Kings were winning all the time?
He what? Yeah, he was led the Kings to like one of their best seasons since the Rick Adelman years, but they started to fall off a little bit, and they got scared and they fired him, even though he was not the problem with that team at all. But yeah, now he's got a chip, and yeah, they get a look off in the distance now. So unbelievably happy for Mike Brown, unbelievably happy for New York, just taking W after W ever since Mamdani won that mayor race, and
Right,
so
it's all
yeah,
him. He is the key.
it's
So so I'm
so
not so I'm not a big follower of basketball. I just know little things here and there. Would you say that the Knicks are kind of like the Cubs of the basketball like realm? Because I feel like the Knicks were like they just pretty much were not like even talked about that much. They even made a joke about them in the movie Soul, I believe, how they would mess with one of the players all the time in like their dream zone or something.
yeah. So Madagascar actually with well, which is led by Ben Stiller, who's also a diehard Knicks fan. They also that movie. There's a clip of that going around where that makes fun of the Knicks. But yeah, they're kind of like yeah, it's kind of like one of those teams that's like pretty notorious for like being in the bottom league. This championship that they won, this is their first championship that they've won since 1973, and this is their first
Mm,
final appearance since 1999. And also a little bit of fun fact: 1999, the Knicks were also facing the Spurs, just like they were last week.
wow.
And in that final was Rick Brunson, the father of Jalen Brunson, and so a little family dynasty there, kind of kind of going full circle with that. So it's just an absolutely incredible story. I've literally like the past week, I've just been usually I'm doom scrolling on Twitter. This week I've been hope scrolling just with all the highlights and
Yes.
watching again watching that Ananobi put back some of the Jalen Brunson threes. Yeah, it's just been it's just been an absolutely wonderful finals to experience. And again, a huge congratulations to New York. I could not be happy for all of y'all right now.
Very cool. I love learning about these things. I'll never ever be like a fan of any sport really. It's just not my thing, but I love hearing success stories like this.
Well, let's go from a success story to the opposite of a success story because
God damn it.
it's time to talk about Microsoft. How's that for a segue?
No, thank
Which is
you.
funny because the last time I had you on the podcast, it was literally an entire episode about how all of these games are getting canceled, all these layoffs are happening, and yet somehow Metroid continues to thrive. And
Yep.
here we are again, where we got some more we got some more fun news from our favorite pals over at Microsoft, where I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but I've been seeing conflicting reports where some people are saying that like Ninja Theory has been canned. Some reports are saying that they're in negotiations along with like Double Fine and Compulsion Games as well. I don't think any official statement has come from Microsoft yet. Either way, not great. These are all wonderful studios. I especially have a fondness for Double Fine and especially the Brutal Legend, which is like one of my favorite games that
Yeah.
Tim Schafer did, led by Jack Black. And I've always wanted to see a sequel to this game, and it's gonna be hard to do if there's no Double Fine.
Mhm.
But more importantly than like my favorite games is like the actual job security of these folks. And yeah, once again, it sucks, especially after Microsoft had what I think was like a pretty decent I almost said E3 showing, but a pretty decent like showcase recently. I mean, it felt like E3, but yeah, it was yeah, and of course, following that, we get the classic Microsoft that we unfortunately know all too well.
They just need to just off. Like, I'm sorry. This really just that's the one F-bomb I'll use this episode intentionally. It really pisses me off how they can just keep pissing away all this goodwill they seemingly gained. There's a lot wrong with the company of Microsoft in general. That just a good showcase can never ever like just erase all their war crime involvements and but like but what really just it does enrage me how they keep doing this. How Xbox keeps ever since this really happened ever since Phil took over. Just game cancellations left and right. Phil's not there anymore, but we're still just seeing like how they're this new Hellblade game that
I know.
just got announced is apparent. The reason they apparently showed it in the showcase was to give like Ninja Theory some bargaining power for them to be potentially be sold off to some other studio, which is just completely disgusting. They showed that if this report, it's not a rumor, it's like a straight, it's coming from very trusted sources. So I have no reason not to believe this is real. If this really did happen, they showed off this game knowing that they were potentially either going to be shut down or dissolved, just is gross. And this comes after the Perfect Dark cancellation, the Everwild cancellation. Basically, any game that these studios have been working on or like will work on, it's just not going to happen. Probably, like hopefully they do get sold to someone else, or they have the strength or like the funding to be able to go independent. I don't know much about like the hardcore business side of things, but it's enraging. I don't know what else there is to say. It just makes me want to play Xbox even less, and I was already not playing Xbox like already
Right.
because they were already disgusting me with everything that they're involved with over in the Middle East. But like it just this makes it all the more easier to just stop supporting them.
Yeah, and it's a bummer because there were games that I was looking forward to. Like I on the last episode, I was talking with Andy. I'm like, dude, Gears E Day is going to be a day one for me. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I mean, again, I feel bad because I want to support these other studios that like need revenue and sales to
Right.
succeed, but it's all tied under Microsoft, and it's just such a bummer because there was a time where, like, I loved Xbox. Like, the Xbox 360 is like one of my all-time favorite consoles. Like,
Yes.
I miss that. And like, Microsoft wasn't an underdog there. They were still like a ludicrously rich company then, but like, even
Yeah.
still, like, it was like, it still felt like they earned that. Like, that was a genuinely cool piece of technology. They were really, their studio output was good. Like, things were looking great, and then yeah, ever since the Xbox One era, it's just been a fumble after fumble after fumble, and like I'm not gonna say it's been fully downhill. There's been some uphill, but like, it's trended nothing but downward since then, and they've just never, for every success Microsoft has, it feels like they have to step on at least a few rakes on the way, and it's just,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just a huge bummer.
It really is. Like these oh man, apparently there's developers, lots of developers who just left this industry for good and are now happier as a result. That should not be happening in this industry that is completely it revolves around people's joy playing these games, but it's also important that these developers have fun making them, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, and it's messed up too because it's like, we talk about how it's like, oh my gosh, even having a successful game doesn't mean you have job security anymore. You can have an objectively profitable, successful game, but it still might not be profitable enough, and so your job security is on the line. Well, I feel like the thing with Ninja Theory is like a whole new precedent because at the very least you could say, oh well, they have a game coming out, so they're at least fine for like the next few several months, several years. But no, even that's not guaranteed anymore. They just announced the game only for this news to break out literally just a week later. Like, it's I don't know, it feels like there is no low that the industry cannot go in, and Microsoft is more than happy to, jump into, that pit.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just enraging. Apparently there's always apparently there's always been talks about this, but there's apparently like a strategy they might do where they'll just completely spin off from Microsoft, the whole Xbox brand, and just become their own like I guess I guess their own presence in the industry. I don't see how they could possibly do that, but if they did, I don't know, maybe something interesting can come from that. But right now it's hard to trust. It's for me it's been hard for like the past year and a half to trust Xbox.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, man, I want to so badly. I want to be an Xbox fan. Like, I want to be given like genuinely good reasons to be an Xbox fan. And like, you get these trinkets, you get these little snippets of hope, and yeah, and then the BS follows very
Shortly after.
shortly after, extremely shortly after in this case, and it's just, yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know. I hope for nothing but the best for these developers. I mean, that's the most important part at the end of the day. Like, obviously I want, the game output to be good, but I hope that, like, these talented developers, don't have to worry about, their financial situations, but that's just not the industry we live in, unfortunately, which sucks.
Nope, but if you work in Japan, you have job security. It's just like look at all these successful Japanese game developers, not even just Japanese ones, like just the Asian countries in general. Like Korean game studio, I think it was the one who worked on Crimson Desert. They got bonuses for such a great job. The developers who worked on Stellar Blade, they were all rewarded with PS5 Pros. Imagine that. Imagine that
I mean,
utopia, you
that's
know?
like a whole paycheck nowadays.
It is crazy, right? Imagine that, treating your employees well. Crazy, crazy stuff.
All right, let's get on to the main topic. I'm done with this baggage, done with this bad news. I think we both need an event, but it's time.
Yeah.
This is a Metroid podcast. Let's have some fun. And boy howdy, I'm ready. I'm ready to spill some tea tonight. I'm ready to get a little spicy on this episode. Our
Yes.
main topic. So a long time ago, and by a long time I mean like 2 years ago. Dak and I, which I actually don't believe you. I think you've only met Andy. You haven't met our other host,
Yeah, I have
Dak
not
yet.
met Dak, I don't think.
But yeah, Dak and I. A couple of years ago, we did an episode where we picked our favorite Metroid songs from every single Metroid game. And today, Joey, we're doing the exact opposite. We are gonna poo poo
Yes.
on all of our least favorite songs from every single Metroid game. And maybe poo pooing is a bit harsh because I will admit there were some games that I was looking at and I'm like, man, this is all bangers. There's not a bad track in here, but
Right?
I'm forced to pick one. They're holding me at gunpoint. They're forcing me to pick one. Some games are obviously easier than others, but yeah, we're gonna be going through every single Metroid title.
Mhm.
We're gonna be picking our least favorite track from the series and potentially making a lot of people very angry, which is one of my favorite pastimes. I don't know about you, Joey.
Oh, I love making people angry. Some of my videos that perform the best on my channel is just about making people angry. So I don't even think I try to make people angry. I usually make fun of people who are getting angry over stupid crap, but you know.
What stupider crap to get angry over than Metroid music? So
Exactly.
let's get right into it. So what I have picked here, and I don't know if you want to do this the same way, but I have every single Metroid game listed here in release order, starting from the original NES Metroid, and of course ending with the most recent Metroid Prime 4.
Mhm.
That's kind of how I was going to go down this list. I don't know if you had something else in mind.
Yes, let's do that. I was thinking we
Okay.
just go game by game. We both give our worst and move on to the next game.
All right, cool. Well, then, yeah, let's start off at the very beginning. Composed by Sir Hirokazu Hip Tanaka. It's Metroid on the NES. And right off the bat, this is one where, yeah, every single piece of music in this game is something that I enjoy. Some of them a lot more than others, but ultimately, there isn't really a miss in this pile. It's a fairly short soundtrack. It's an original NES title, but yeah. So I was going through the entire list, and I think I'm gonna start this episode off pretty spicy. I think my least favorite track in Nestroid is gonna be the Brinstar theme. And again, I think it's a
Really?
great yeah, I think it's a great theme. Again, I don't think this is a bad piece of music at all. So
Mhm.
don't get too many pitchforks out for me just yet. I'll save that for later.
You want to tussle?
Um, but yeah, for me, and I've talked about this a lot on the Metroid podcast um before, but when it comes to Metroid music, my favorite pieces of Metroid music are the kind of music that almost blurs the lines between, the in-game universe and the music itself, where it almost feels like the music is like this living part of the universe that's communicating to the player. I like when Metroid music is like gross and squishy and organic or very industrial. It's
Mhm.
almost composed of like aspects of the environment that are creating these instruments. And I think aspects and that started a lot with, Nestroid, Hirokazu Tanaka. He wanted specifically with Metroid to create a soundtrack that he quoted as sounding as if it was a living, breathing creature. And I think some tracks do that better than others. Like I think the item room theme in this game, for example, is a great example of like pulling that
Yes.
off on the NES, where it kind of blurs the lines. Or the mother brain fight, where it almost feels like this pulsating, grotesque heartbeat is like acting as the percussion in the background. I love stuff like that. The Brinstar theme isn't really like that. I still think it serves its purpose well. It's kind of like acts as like the safe hub in the game, where it's still you're not quote unquote safe, but it's a lot safer than the other areas. And the music kind of gives off that feeling, but it doesn't really excel in the areas that I'd really come to Metroid for. So even though I still ultimately like the track, I'm gonna put it as my least favorite. So starting this one off that way, Joey. What about you? How wrong am I? What did you pick?
The spice on you. I respect it. My least favorite track of this, and like you said, a lot of this is just pure bangers, pure 8-bit certified bangers, except for the Mother Brain battle. That
Ooh,
music,
okay.
can you even call it music? It's just I get why you might not have put that as your least favorite, because it kind of just goes into that theme of like organic sort of thing. Like it does sound like a creature. if that makes sense. But I hear that when I grade how I'm going to be grading music from this point forward is like if a game is nothing but bangers, I try to pick the one that maybe sounds like the least like Metroid to me.
Hmm.
Like if I heard it without context, I'd be like, "What's this from?" And for me, that is the Mother Brain battle, which is just it's just noise to me, you know.
That's fair. It doesn't really have it's weirdly enough, despite how like action packed it is, it's almost more like an ambient track. It doesn't really have like it has meter, but it doesn't really have a melody to it. So I can
Right.
definitely understand why that track. There's a lot of Metroid music that I love that I know for a fact that like a lot of people would be like, really? That's like one of your favorite Metroid tracks? So I totally understand why stuff like that. A lot of the Echoes music in particular, like I know Andy doesn't like that soundtrack as much as I do, whereas that's like my favorite soundtrack in the whole series. And so,
Well, doesn't he
um,
think the Dread soundtrack is better than
we we'll
Prime
we'll
4's?
get to that later. We'll get to that later.
Okay.
Well,
I'm already looking for violence already.
oh, don't worry, the violence will come later. The violence will come later.
Can't
Um,
wait.
but before we get to that violence, we got to talk about Metroid 2: Return of Samus. And
Yes.
this is a soundtrack that, on one hand, I think is kind of underrated, but at the same time, yeah, there's a couple stinkers in here. There's a couple stinkers in here. This one was composed by Ryoji Yoshitomi for the Game Boy in 1991. Yeah, and there's like one of my all-time favorite pieces of music is, of course, the iconic SR388 main theme, colloquially referred to as the Surface theme. I think that's most people's favorite track from this game, and for good reason. It is a
Yeah.
certified banger. But my least favorite track in this game, it's got to be that generic Metroid fight theme. When you're ever you engage in a Metroid battle. Yeah, this piece of music just sounds a little goofy to me, little goofy, and
I
I
think
don't like the.
you and I have the same pick. I have a particular track. I had to look stuff up because I barely remember Metroid 2. I never even finished it. This part track in particular is called Sudden Metroid Spike. And it
No,
just
no, no, no. That's near the end of the game.
oh, is it? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I don't blame you for not liking the other because I feel like it does sound kind of similar to like the Metroid Attack music. And I agree with you. It just sounds like noise to me.
Hmm. Yeah, well, again, I don't mind if it sounds like noise, but this one just sounds a little bit goofy, and I
Yeah.
don't, Metroid 2 is a weirdly non-goofy game, but it's got some goofy moments in the music that I think can clash a little bit sometimes. I think they're few and far between. I think atmospherically, I like a lot of the beeps and bloops and blops and stuff like that, but yeah, the generic Metroid fight music, not personally my cup of tea.
Yeah. I'm in
But
agreement
you know
with you
what
there.
is my cup of tea is
What?
Super Metroid,
Bro, how are we
composed.
supposed to pick a bad song from that? But yeah, go on. Who composed this?
Yeah.
Tell me.
So I don't know. You might have heard of these folks before. Someone named, let me check, Kenji Yamamoto and Minako Hamano. I wonder if they come up later in this list as well. Interesting.
Oh, he's the banger man. He's the one that makes the
Yeah, yeah,
bangers.
yeah. Not to be confused with the Dragon Ball Z composer. We don't talk about that Kenji Yamamoto.
No, we don't.
But yeah, this is another example where it's just like, man, what do I pick here? Joey, I've gone first the last couple of times. You want to go first on Super Metroid? Because I'm really curious what you picked here.
Yes. I need to look it up first because I forgot the name of
Okay.
it. A lot of this stuff I had to like research very last second. There is just one small track out of this entire soundtrack. It's a short one. It's only about 40 seconds, I believe. It's when the Chozo statue awakens. It's just
Oh,
generic,
real?
like
Okay.
sounding, like because once again, this soundtrack is almost nothing but bangers, right? But so this one felt like the standout to me of just like, okay, there's nothing really special about this track. And I know it's only 40 seconds, but like that's just the one thing that stood out to me was just like just sounds like generic horror, nothing doesn't scream Metroid to me. And I think that's just a testament to how great the other songs in this game are. Like you can't possibly expect me to pick a least favorite out of like the longer, broader themes, you know?
Right. Well, Joey, that's where I come in. It's time to get
Hell
a little
yeah.
spicy
Let's
in this
do
episode.
it.
Already, and again, Super Metroid. I mean, right off the top of my head, you asked me what do I grade this? It's an easy 10 out of 10 soundtrack. So let's not get confused here. But I gotta be real, man. That Turian theme, this has easily got to be my least favorite Turian theme
Mm,
of all the ones that we've had. And again, on its own, it's fine. But like every time the gurgles and the gargles come up, the first thing that comes to my mind is Mother Brain just ate 5 Chalupa Supremes in a row. And I know that's not what Yamamoto-san was going for when he composed this, but I can't help it every time those sound effects come up, and so I gotta give Torian the L for that. But I do kind of like it on a sadistic level because of that as well. But yeah, that's gonna
yes,
be my pick. That's gonna be my pick for the worst song in Super Metroid.
understandable.
All right. And then next up, we got Metroid Fusion. And you know what? I'm gonna turn up the spice a little bit more because I know for a fact that my pick is a pick that a lot of people really enjoy for Metroid Fusion. But I
Mm,
actually think this is one of the worst pieces of Metroid music ever written. Not the worst, but I cannot stand this piece of music right here. And again, I really like the Fusion soundtrack. I think the Fusion soundtrack is really solid. But I am not a fan of that SAX chase theme. You wanna talk about goofy
mm,
sounding Metroid music, as terrifying, and uncomfortable as the SAX theme or as the SAX is, it has this goofy, almost carnival sounding like theme that completely just kills any sort of tension that it sets off otherwise. Not to be confused by the theme when it first walks onto the screen where it has that heartbeat in the background. That's
right.
gas. That's fire. Inject all of that into my veins. But when it spots you and it starts chasing you, that I don't know. Like when I first heard that, the first thing that stood out to me was like, man, this sounds like something that would play at a carnival when the circus clown is juggling in front of you. That's the vibes that the SAX's theme gives me, and I don't like it, Joey.
You don't like it. I guess I understand that. This is another game where the soundtrack for it was just kind of I only can remember the bangers. I had to like look through this like literally 5 minutes before we recorded. What I came upon, and I'm listening to it in my earphones right now, and I'm kind of regretting choosing this, but I will stand by it. It is called the what is it? Arachnus X boss theme. I heard maybe the
Oh
first
no, I like that theme.
I've heard granted, here's what happened. I heard the first 30 seconds, and then the rest of the song changes after that, and it's better. But again, it's just one of those, like, what sticks out to me the most as being, like, maybe the least impressive, and to me, it's gotta be this. Like, the SAX theme, or, like, the chase theme, I know what you mean, I know what you're talking about when you say it, but it's just, like, anything attached to the SEX for me, it's already iconic. And if the music stresses me out during the chase scene, it's just like, okay, yeah, this is cool. But with Arachnus X, it kind of sounds a little goofy at times.
It,
But
it does it
those
does sound it does sound kind of disco-y, but I don't know.
yeah,
I vibe with it
you can
because
just imagine
Metroid
John
also
Travolta dancing to it, right?
because Metroid also experiments with like kind of like disco and pop beats in other contexts. Like the second the Fendrana's Edge when you visit Fendrana the second time collecting the gravity suit, that's also very like poppy and disco. Yeah. But yeah,
So
I
good.
totally vibe with that. But I get why that theme might not resonate, especially in Fusion where it is like a lot more slasher focused in particular with a lot of its music, and this one definitely is not that at all.
Yeah. That's yeah, I need to a lot of these games I need to replay. I've been giving myself like a Metroid cleanse for ever since Prime 4 came out. I haven't really revisited any of them, but when that next Metroid game gets announced, and it will get announced, mark my words, I will binge again.
Oh, oh, I don't know if you saw me clasp my hands together like that. I am ready for some
Yes.
Metroid 6. Let's
Yes.
see. Well, going off of Metroid Fusion, next up we got the GOAT stepping into the house. It's Metroid Prime, and yeah, this is another one where it's just like I got nothing. What do I pick here? It's just oops, all bangers.
Yeah. Well, I will go first then, if you do
Okay.
not mind. Um, Here's the thing. It was tough. This was so tough. Like I
Yeah.
thought I already had a choice in my head, but now I'm just like, oh, do I pick that? Do I pick the other one? I don't know. Um, but I think I will what I had to think about was would I miss this track if it left Metroid Prime? Out if it left like it just was erased from existence. I don't know if I would, and especially because it's used so many freaking times in other games, and that is the Magmore Caverns theme.
You know what? That's a fair pick. That is a fair pick. I
Yeah.
would I personally wouldn't remove it from this game. For me, it's like Samus Returns and onwards where I start to get sick of that song.
Yes.
But I definitely understand, especially because the Super Metroid version is my favorite iteration of that theme. I
Right.
like the
It's
more
really good in that. It's just a little too bombastic here, especially because which I guess makes sense because fire's not subtle, right? It
mhm.
just it really stands out amongst the rest of the music in the other areas by being just loud and obnoxious. I wouldn't say it's obnoxious. It's still got a good rhythm. It's still a good song, but it's like maybe the least impressive out of the other ones. I was probably gonna pick Phase on Mines, but the more I thought about that song, the more I'm like, no, this is perfect atmospheric music right here. So I chose Magmore Caverns.
I respect it. A spicy take for a very spicy area. Um, so I picked a couple of songs actually, and the reason why is because I tried for the most part to refrain from just doing kind of generic ambiance tracks, even though there are a lot of those quote unquote ambiance tracks that I love, and so you could say that it's fair game to pick ones that I don't love. I wanted to focus on tracks that like had, you know, a bit more melody in them, but there is one track in Metroid Prime that does kind of fall into that ambience territory, and that's the missile refill station. I picked that because I love the save station music. I love like the elevator music. Absolutely wonderful pieces of ambiance music. That missile refill station music just does not do it for me. But I did want to pick a quote unquote real song with that as
Okay.
well. So I'm also going, and it's actually funny you mentioned in Magmore Caverns. I picked the Burning Trail theme, which is the piece of music that plays right before you enter Magmore Caverns.
Uh,
Which
okay.
which again, on its own is a theme I like, but you know, if I have to sift through all of Metroid Prime's bangers and pick one, that is gonna be the one that I'm gonna pick today. That's the
Understandable.
sacrificial lamb.
Yes. I love how they're just both of them are just Magmore Caverns
Right.
adjacent because it's just like, yeah, still great, still good songs, but it's just like we got to some things got to be at the bottom of these
Yep.
lists, you know?
All right. Next up, we got Metroid Zero Mission. It feels like we were just talking about Metroid, and now we're already at the remake.
Right.
At Zero Mission. This is another soundtrack that I really like. It's definitely held up by a lot of kind of like the throwback songs. There isn't a lot of like original pieces of music in this game. Um
Hmm.
and um and I think I know why. It's because the original pieces of music for the most part are not as good as a lot of that throwback music. Because my pick for Metroid Zero Mission is going to be the Dioram fight, also known as the Charge Beam Beast, which I think is a cool
Oh,
boss.
we got the same pick.
Ooh,
That's
ding,
right.
ding, ding. Which,
There we
which
go.
I like this boss fight. I think this is a really killer boss fight and a really cool concept in general of a fight that you can fail but and fight later, and you're not limited to fighting it in just one room. It can pop up all over the place until you eventually do defeat it. And I like how it uses its body to kind of block the axe. The fight itself is really cool,
Yeah.
but yeah, the music itself just kind of going to what you said earlier, just doesn't really feel like Metroid music to me. It just kind
Right.
of feels like a generic suspenseful theme.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because because I think Zero Mission has a lot of really good like Metroidy
It
suspenseful
does. I
themes.
love the Brinstar theme in that, even if it's a little
Yeah,
overplayed, but I still,
right.
like, enjoy it.
Yeah, because you have the regular Brinstar theme, and then you got the Super Brinstar theme when you're fully powered up in Show Zodia, of course.
That's
Which I
right.
which which I really like that. I really like that theme, but I get why it's not everyone's cup of tea. It is very bombastic and in your face on that one.
Mhm. For sure, for
All
sure.
right.
I'm ready for the next one because it's gonna get
Oh,
spicier up in here.
oh boy, I'm scared, but because of that, I'm gonna let you go first. Joey, crush my heart. What's your least favorite Prime 2 song?
Torvis Bog, I'm just kidding. Never. Never in a million years. Was that I have to ask, was that anyone's favorite in the last episode? Or because it has to be, right? When you talked
I
about the
didn't
best
re
games?
I didn't rewatch that episode. I'd have to check what Dak's answer was, because I know what mine answer was. Mine is the Metroid Prime 2 credits. It's my all-time favorite piece of Metroid music
That's
actually.
so good. It
So,
is really good, but we're talking about the worst of the worst.
yes. Yeah, so
And for
yeah, so
me,
credits are not making an appearance today.
this probably has the best soundtrack out of all the Prime games, I think. I'm making that a very bold statement right now. Feel free to disagree with me, but because
It
all the stuff,
won't be me.
right? So for me, there was just one track that was just all atmosphere, which is good, but not much rhythm. And you know, God forbid a white boy get a little motion when he listens to
Mm.
his Metroid soundtracks. That has to be Agon Wastes. It's good on its own for atmosphere, but it doesn't feel like much of a song to me. You know, it doesn't have the boppiness of the other areas in the game. It doesn't have the Sanctuary Fortress like little digital stuff. It doesn't have Torvis Bog being the best song in all of Metroid history, but yeah, it's just there. It's good. It sets the tone really well, but it's just unremarkable in my opinion.
I think Aegon Waste is one of those songs that for me works really well in the game, but it's not something I'm really gonna listen to that much outside of the game,
Right.
even if I still really appreciate like a lot of the instrument choices used in it. Yeah, it's not something that I'm not gonna be driving down I-5 at 80 miles an hour. Like, oh yeah, time to crank this up, baby. Let's go.
Yes.
Um, yeah, definitely not one of those songs. My pick, dare I say, my pick might even be spicier. And again, this is another
Ooh,
one
I can't wait.
where again, there's no song in this game that I dislike. I like every individual piece of music, even the dark ether music. That's like even I would dare say even more rhythmic than the Aegon Waste theme. But my pick for the quote unquote worst song of Metroid Prime 2 is going to be the main Ing battle theme. Actually, again,
Mm,
a good piece of music. I like this
okay.
theme, but out of all the music and echoes, this one is just my personal least favorite. I don't know.
I feel like that's a song you could blast going down I-5 at 80 miles per hour,
You
though.
probably could. You probably could. Um, and I think for me, the reason why I picked this one is because of how much I love and adore the Dark Troopers theme, and I just feel like the Ing battle theme that you mostly hear throughout the game is just such a huge downgrade from that other theme, which you don't get to hear anywhere near as much. Whereas the
Mhm.
Dark Trooper theme is like in my top 20 Metroid themes, probably. I don't know. There's a lot to pick from. Um, but yeah, I still really like the Ing theme, but in a game full of bangers, I gotta pick one, and that's the one I'm picking.
Yes. One you done, son.
All right. So next up, and I don't know if you have a lot to say about Metroid Prime Pinball, Joey,
I
because
don't. I've never played that one because it's never freaking available anywhere. I never got it as a kid. I'm trying to defend myself as somebody who claims to be a diehard Metroid fan because I know there'll people will be in the comments just like, you're not a real Metroid fan unless haven't played Metroid Prime Pinball. And it's just like, leave me alone. I have a
it's me. I'm
family.
in the comments,
Just you, no one else.
literally. Um, Yeah, so yeah, if you don't have one to pick here, that's fine. I did pick the Parasite Purge slash Burrower Bash theme. And for those like Joey who've never played Metroid Prime Pinball, that is a cover of the Hive Mecha theme from Metroid Prime, which I love the Hive Mecha theme in Metroid Prime.
Mhm.
I,
It's
I
good.
like it in Prime Pinball, but it definitely doesn't hit anywhere near as strong. It's missing a lot of that lower end that makes that original Metroid Prime theme feel so full. The one in Pinball just feels a lot flatter. And then that flatness I think really takes away from like a lot of like really what really makes that song work so well in Prime. So
Mhm.
that's my pick: Parasite Purge slash Burrow Bash.
Very nice. Very, very nice. Yeah, I know they're all remixes. All the tracks are remixes of the Prime music, right?
Yeah, every single track is a cover of a theme that appeared in Metroid Prime 1. That is correct.
Very
And
cool.
also I just realized I've stopped giving the composer introductions out of all of them, so I'm just gonna I don't know, I'm just gonna stop doing that because I'm definitely not gonna remember to do that for the rest of the
Understandable.
episode. But yeah, let's go on to Metroid Prime Hunters. Unless you did have something to say about the pinball music.
Well, I don't have anything to say about the pinball music.
Okay,
There's not
all
I
right.
don't even know what that game looks like. I do, but it doesn't enter my mind like ever.
It looks like a pinball game, where the Samus Morph Ball is the pinball, and it's the
Hell
greatest
yeah.
thing ever conceived. Put it in the Lavore. Next
Mhm,
up
very nice.
is Metroid Prime. Yeah, put it in the Lavore with the 3DS tour. Next up is Metroid Prime Hunters. We were actually talking about this before we started the episode. I think the Hunters soundtrack is criminally underrated. It's nowhere near my favorite Metroid soundtrack, but like to me, this is like a solid B tier Metroid soundtrack. I really
Mhm,
like I really like what Lord Schwedler and James Phillipson did with this, where Metroid Prime Hunters, it's almost kind of like this, I don't want to say spiritual successor, but it's like heavily influenced by Halo and Quake in particular. And it takes this interesting approach on the soundtrack where it really focuses on syncopated percussion, and bass, and it really combines those together to make like this very this very adrenaline pumping soundtrack. But then you also have these really good ambient pieces as well that like almost take on this Lovecraftian kind of horror influence and puts it into there
mhm.
as well. And you mash those two together, and it creates this really interesting and unique sound that you really only see in Hunters. You don't really see in any of the other games, and it's one that I enjoy a lot. But not all songs in this game are created equally.
Right.
And I've said this on the podcast before, in spite of how underrated I think the soundtrack is, I've never been a fan of the individual Hunter themes. I understand what they were going with, where you have like you have like kind of a main theme melody that's put on top of a hunter, and then each hunter gets like their own specific instruments dedicated exclusively to them on top of the same beat. um it's a cool idea. In execution, it just kind of feels repetitive, and especially for the single player campaign, which is very repetitive for a lot of different reasons.
Mhm.
It kind of just makes a lot of those themes drag on to me. And I think that it is especially the case during the Goria fight, because Goria does not get its own dedicated theme. It just uses the Hunter's themes all over again. And again, I get what they were going for, where Goria throughout the fight will change to different weapons because it absorbs all of the hunter's abilities, and throughout the fight it'll change to the hunter's abilities, and the music will line up to whichever weapon that it's selected, so that even without looking at the colors, you immediately know by listening to the music what it's about to attack you with. I still think it just sounds kind of lame, unfortunately. Which is a bummer because I think Goria has a cool design. The fight is okay, but yeah, I really think the music, at least in that fight, just kind of falls flat. Still think the overall soundtrack is criminally underrated, though.
Mhm. Yeah, this is a tough one for me because I think this entire soundtrack is not very good. Um, like it's good for like a DS game, I guess, but I just felt like a lot of it just it doesn't do Metroid justice, if that makes sense, especially like coming off of Kenji Yamamoto's work. And I know like comparison's a thief of joy, right? But I guess my pick, my go-to pick, is one I remember hearing a lot as a kid when I played this, was the first theme of Vesper Defense Outpost. I feel like that's just a very, I don't know, safe kind of track, if that makes sense. I'm listening to it in my ears right now just so I can like get a better idea of what it sounds like. And I don't know, like I think like this song perfectly represents how kind of underwhelming Metroid Prime Hunters is like as a Metroid Prime game. Because like you said, the campaign's very repetitive. As a result, the music feels very repetitive. The bosses are the definition of repetitive. And this song just kind of feels like the it just feels like it represents that to me, if that makes sense.
I definitely don't agree with that pick at all. I'm not gonna like die on that, die on that hill like you put some respect on Vesper Defense Outpost theme. Um like I'm not gonna go that hard in the paint, but I do like the Vesper Defense Outpost theme a lot. I definitely, yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think that's gonna be my first hard disagreement on this episode.
I understand. Like, I feel like, truthfully, I feel like a lot of the soundtrack just sounds the same to me. Like, it's
Mhm.
not like they sound different for sure, but they'll give me the same vibe of just it's
Right,
Prime
yeah.
Hunters.
It's
Welcome to
like, yeah,
Prime Hunters.
mhm.
Yeah.
And and like for better or worse, Prime Hunters does have like a very unique sound, and I think you could pretty much encapsulate right there. You either are gonna love that sound or you're gonna hate that sound. And if you hate that sound, you're probably not gonna be very invested in that soundtrack.
For sure.
All right. Let's get onto a high note that I know we both are going to enjoy, because next up is Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Um
Yes.
this is so of the of the main Metroid Prime trilogy, I'm using my words carefully there. This is definitely my least favorite of the trilogy. I think this is still a great
Understandable.
soundtrack though. This think it's
hmm
still a great soundtrack. Prime 3, and this is not just on the music, but the entire game goes for a much more cinematic approach through its presentation. And I think a lot of that really works for this game, and I think some of it doesn't work as well, and I think that also includes the music.
Yeah.
I think an example of where it does work is Skytown Elysia. That's a lot of people's favorite track in this whole game. That's
Yeah.
a piece of music that definitely goes for this almost like harp focus as like the lead instrument, harp and choirs, and that isn't really something that really sings Metroid on its surface, but of course Kenji Yamamoto finds a way to make it work in this context. I think an example where this more cinematic approach does not work, however, is in Gore's battle theme when you fight him. I think this
Oh,
track, yeah, I think this track. I don't want to say it's doo doo, but it's just kind of take it or leave it.
yeah.
And in a game like Prime 3, which does have some insane highs, take it or leave it just is not going to cut it here.
No. Absolutely not. And I had to refresh my memory on what he sounded like, what the song sounded like. And I'm listening to it now, and I'm like, oh yeah, I understand. It's not my pick, but I get where you're coming from for sure. It's just
Mhm.
very, again, I feel like a lot of like my
Very
least
very
favorite.
generic space opera kind of music. It doesn't
Mhm.
really feel like Metroid.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think my pick for like most underwhelming song, at least for me, has to be the Fiery Air Dock on Brio. It
That's a fair
feels
pick.
yeah, it just feels like it's fine, it's good, it's atmospheric. Does not really stand out to me in the slightest. Like it's just I feel like Kenji Yamamoto came into the office one day, is just like, oh, you need a fire air dock? Okay, let's just okay, we're good. Can I go home now? Like he was just having a no off day that day or something. Not every song's going to be the best here, but it's just a fine atmospheric track. Kind of like the issue I had with Agon Wastes, where it's good, but it's not something I remember very well.
Right. Yeah, it's just kind of it's very Magmore Caverns core, and I feel like I talked about how Samus Returns is like where I really started to get sick of it. Maybe Prime 3 subtly, even though it's not literally Magmore Caverns. I think that's the only thing like saves it for me. But even though it's not Magmore Caverns, it's very, like I said, it's very Magmore Caverns core,
Yeah.
and we'll get into more of that later. But I think that's like the one area of Kenji Yamamoto's compositions where I'm like, maybe let someone else compose those fire areas. I don't
Yes.
know. um, well, we talked about a really good game, and now let's talk about Metroid Other M, our
Oh
favorite game.
god. Just like this was hard to pick. It was hard for me to choose my least favorite because most of these suck.
Metroid Other M does have a few hidden gems there that are actually low
Right.
key bangers, but yeah, this is another game. This was a
Excuse
hard one
me.
for me to pick because, like I said earlier, I don't want to just focus on generic ambience music, and most of the music in Other M is generic ambience music, and
Yes.
that's just very forgettable. So I really wanted to challenge myself, but I do think that I found a pick on here that is definitely not ambience that I actually think is my least favorite piece of music in this game. I'm gonna let you go first though, because I went first last time.
Okay. All right. Here's the thing. I have
Unless
to
you haven't
remember this.
unless you haven't had your thing selected, then I can go
I do
first.
have it selected, but I feel like it just sounds like most of the atmospheric tracks in the game already. It's the main sector theme 1, the scrap block. It's just this is the one that has like those, A24 horror movie trailer like strings,
Oh yeah, yeah, the little spider chords.
Yes, the spider chords, and I'm just sitting here thinking, this is not Metroid. This sounds nothing like a Metroid game. Like, come on, this is just generic freaking horror music. And there's some good, like, actual Metroid music in this soundtrack. It's not great. It's fine. It's passable. But when I hear those, I'm just like, this is not the. You just go back to making indie horror films, I guess.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go back to Obsession. Does
Yes.
Obsession use like
It
the little spider
actually
chords?
does not. It's a lot of 80s synthwave. Not a lot, but
Okay,
it's actually really good music. You should go see that movie.
okay. Yeah, I'm actually everyone on the podcast knows, but you don't. I'm actually in the middle of a move right now.
Okay.
So I'm actually in my new house right now. I've been here for a
Oh,
couple
nice.
weeks. Yeah, so I haven't had a lot of time to do gaming or watching a lot of movies and stuff. But yeah, that is. I want to check that out as well as Sheep Detectives. I heard was really good as well.
Mhm. Which one again? I'm sorry, I didn't miss it. I missed it.
Sheep Detectives.
Oh, Sheep Detectives. I wanna see that too.
Yeah, I've
They
heard
could
nothing but
do
good
it a
things
double
about that.
feature. First Obsession, and then Sheep Detectives to, wash away the sins of Obsession.
Right. Yeah, and then my friends and I, we got tickets booked for a double feature for Spider-Man and Odyssey in July, and then
Nice.
I do also really want to see Toy Story 5. Like I know a lot of people are poo-pooing on it because they're tired of Toy Story movies, but I don't know, it's getting good reviews right now, and
It is.
a lot of people hated Toy Story 4. I still really love Toy Story 4, and I thought
Mhm.
that had like a really unique message, but I'm getting off topic from the Metroidiness.
Right.
Um, my pick for Metroid Other M is gonna be the Zabezian battle theme, and this song, I'm just gonna say this song is just straight up bad. It's been a while since I've had to pick a bad thing. I think Fusion is the last like straight up bad theme that I've selected. This theme is just awful. I can't stand it, and especially coming off of all three of the Prime Trilogy Space Pirate themes, which are all 10 out of 10 bangers. This just doesn't even come close to that. Again, it just sounds goofy with the little it's like, and as I was doing that, I just realized it does kind of sound like Duel of the
Dual
Fates, but like
face,
if it was
yes.
ass.
Oh my gosh. John Williams is rolling in his he's not dead, so there's no grave, but
Yeah, literally just came to that realization as doing that out loud. But yeah, I actually like hate this piece of music. Put it in the
Respect.
trash. I never want to hear it again.
Oh man, if only there was a trash bin for MP3 files. Well, actually there is. It's the digital trash bin.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's a recycle bin actually. At least
Oh,
on
okay.
Windows.
It's funny because is it really recycling anything? Like, it's gone forever. He doesn't.
On Mac though it is a trash bin. So, yeah, all you
Ah,
Mac users can put it in the trash bin.
nice. Good for them.
Um, but following, you thought it could be bad with Metroid Other M. It actually can get a lot worse. It's time to talk about Metroid Prime Federation Force.
Oh,
Um,
daddy.
and I think you and I are in agreement here. This was easily the most difficult game to pick from because the thing with Federation Force, and a lot of people don't realize this, Metroid Prime Federation Force by a landslide has the most Metroid music out
Oh
of all of the
God.
games, and it's not even close. This game straight up has over 200 unique pieces of music, which is stupid because it all
Oh.
blends together. Um, and again, it sucks because I really like the composers of this game. The same team that do the Luigi's Mansion games. Punch Out on the Wii, which is a killer soundtrack. The Mario Strikers games, like those are all great scores. Federation Force ain't it though.
Nope.
And yeah, this one's kind of like a cheating pick, but I picked the first Samus boss battle theme just because it reminded me that exists, not because of the music itself. But again, all the music for the most part sounds the same anyways, so what
Yeah.
difference does it
I
make?
literally, before we started recording, I was just like, "Oh crap, I need to pick one for Federation Force." And then I scrolled through, and I just picked the first weak song I could find, and it was Mission One Outpost Exterior.
I
It's
was about to
just,
say
it's
it was the first song you clicked on, right?
yeah. I didn't choose like any of the training ones or like the opening themes or anything, but like M1 Outpost Exterior, I was just like, "Oh, it's just snow noises."
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah. I'm sure the rest of the soundtrack's not very good either. So, yeah, yeah.
Again, much like other M, there's a couple of gems in here that I actually do genuinely enjoy, but it's all about ratios, and you're looking at a couple songs out of 200, and the batting average isn't great on this soundtrack. Which again, it's very unfortunate. I don't want to throw these composers under the bus too much because I think they've more than proved themselves in other works. But
Well,
yeah, Federation
they had to
Force.
do 200 tracks.
That is true. That is
That's a
true.
lot of work.
Yeah, even split amongst three people. That's a lot of music to compose. Good lord.
God,
And for
yeah.
this game too. Oh.
Oh,
Um let's move on to a much better fare. Metroid Samus Returns.
yes.
Which my goodness, I remember when this game first came out where it really felt like, "Oh my god, like Metroid is back. Metroid is actually back. Like we're saved. We're actually like going somewhere now." Even if it's a remake. We had Prime 4 on the horizon at the time, which we'll talk about that in a bit. But
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
um but yeah, yeah, man, I remember, and that was my first year going to college too. So it was just like a really exciting point in my life. I actually that was during that was one of the Nintendo World Championships qualifiers, and I remember because I actually played Samus Returns early along with Super Mario Odyssey at the qualifying event where you had to
nice.
play you had to do a time trial on whatever the SNES Bowser's Castle was on Mario Kart 7. You had to do a time trial on that, and I think it was like the top 2 got picked to go to LA and perform in the championships at like a E3 or something like that. But yeah, I was at the San Jose Best Buy during that qualifying event, and yeah, I got to play Samus Returns early. I got to play Mario Odyssey earlier. I got a couple of exclusive posters that had like the little gold embossed poster with like the Nintendo World Championships logo. So like that's when I think of Samus Returns, I think of like that time period. And again, literally just going to college and living on my own. It was just an incredibly exciting year at that time.
Dude, when I was a Nintendo brand ambassador for Commonwealth Realm at that time. Nintendo straight up sent me like the whole bloody affair. They sent, like, you can see me unbox it like back in 2017. They sent me the amiibos. They sent me the special edition version of the game. You can see it like
Wow.
right here somewhere. Yeah. And they sent me the 3DS. They sent me that. I was shooketh. It was It was one of the best days of my life.
I have all that stuff. I did not get sent that. I had to pay lots of money for all of that. I was lucky enough. Unfortunately, I can't display it because pretty much all my cases are empty right now because in the middle of a move right now.
Right.
Um, but yeah, if I did have them, I would love to show off that Samus Returns 3DS. I definitely have on the podcast before. Something relevant came up, and I remember showing that off, but I cannot remember for the life of me what episode that was. I think it might have even been last year now that I think about it. But I also have a couple of the legacy editions for Samus Returns that were exclusive to Europe at the time because they got
Nice.
the super collector's edition that North America didn't get. So I secured two of those legacy editions, one to unbox and display all the contents, and one to keep sealed up in mint condition. So very, very happy to have those in my collection. Again, not sent to me. Those were honestly in the grand scheme of things, $150 a piece is not too bad in with the way inflation is going today. And in
Good lord.
hindsight,
God, I wish I could pay $150 for anything these days. Like, that's a lucky
but
price.
anyways, but anyways, now that we've gone through that nostalgia trip, it's time to talk about the music of Samus Returns. And Andy is also not the biggest fan of the soundtrack, and I kind of sympathize with it because my thing with Samus Returns, I think the individual songs that are present on the soundtrack are pretty good for the most part, but I'm not a fan of the way the game utilizes a lot of the music, especially a lot of its best music. Like, we were talking about, that surface theme from Metroid 2 earlier, which is again
Yeah,
one of my all-time favorite pieces of Metroid music. And you know what? I can say the same thing about the Samus Returns version. The Samus Returns version of that theme is also freaking incredible, an absolute masterpiece
I do love it.
of a theme. And you hear it for like 2 seconds in this game, and then you can never hear it again unless you're going back to that area to get the 100%. Which is really unfortunate because in Metroid 2 you would constantly revisit that area and you'd always get reminded of it, but that's not the case in Samus Returns. And it does that a lot with a lot of the music, where individually the compositions are good, but they're just utilized really poorly. We were talking about Magmore Caverns earlier. I think this is a great example that I think both I, and Andy agree were on its own pretty good rendition of Magmore Caverns. I don't need it to blast in my face the second I step into a hot area every single time throughout the
Yes.
adventure.
Oh
That
my
that gets
god.
old. That gets old very
They
quick,
just made it
actually.
more obnoxious by making it louder. It doesn't even sound, honestly, it just sounds like it's ripped from Metroid Prime, but they increased the gain on it, you know?
There's this very loud horn that it does when it does that first "Whoa," but it
Yes.
almost it almost reminds me of like that Inception bwong that's been memed to death ever since the Inception
Yes.
trailer. It's not the exact same sound, but that's like the vibes it gives off whenever it like rears its head in that game. That is not my pick though for the
Oh,
worst song in Metroid Samus Returns. I just had to vent a little bit and cue you up for
right.
my true pick of Metroid Samus Returns. And this, I think, is the most egregious one. Another one of my favorite pieces of music in Samus Returns, or excuse me, in Metroid 2, is the Queen Metroid theme. And I was, especially after hearing, that Surface theme, and, some of the other pieces that came back, I was really excited to hear what the Samus Returns version of that Queen Metroid theme would be, only to be super disappointed when out of all of the pieces of music, this was the one that they decided not to bring back. And on its own, this original theme that they have for the Queen, it's okay, it's fine, but like, my goodness, this does not come close to
Mhm.
to the original Metroid 2 Queen Metroid theme, especially after having just come off of AM2R the year before, which did a phenomenal job of bringing that Queen Metroid theme back. So that's going to be my pick for Samus Returns because I cannot believe they actually did that.
That's good. Yeah, like a personal vendetta against this
Yeah,
song,
I
which I
do.
love. Just like I have a personal vendetta against Magmore Caverns being overused. That was my pick. I didn't know if it was gonna be your pick, but it was my pick. I was just like, this doesn't even sound like they tried, if that makes sense. It's just like they really just decided, hey, we need a lava theme. We just need the music to sound different. Oh, okay. Have you played Metroid Prime? Use that. And then they did like almost nothing with it. So yeah, that's my pick.
And honestly, that is a fair pick. Again, I think on its own, it's a fine version of Magmore Caverns. Don't hate it on its own, but the way it's used in the game, it's just yeah, it's just very poor, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to go from bad for worse. This is where Joey, I don't know about you. This is the game that I've been waiting to talk about.
That's
it's
right.
been
Yeah.
it's been everyone on this podcast knows that I used to dump on the Metroid Dread soundtrack, but I haven't really had that opportunity in a while. Metroid Dread, it's not the most recent Metroid game anymore. It's not super relevant. And I've also, in those early days, I kind of said everything that I needed to say about it. So it felt
Hmm.
almost redundant to bring it back up. But today's a special day where it's all about spice, it's all about pouring the tea. And, if there's any game that I have some tea to pour on, it's at least in terms of the music, it's Metroid Dread. The rest of the game, it's we're eating. But
Yeah.
yeah, I still think Metroid Dread is probably the worst Metroid soundtrack ever made. Not to say that every single song in that game is bad. There's a couple of songs like I think Barinia, that water level theme I think is pretty good. There's a couple of other pieces. I like the kind of main Artaria theme, but it's super short as well. So even like Artaria, a piece of music I genuinely enjoy, it loops so fast and gets repetitive very quickly, even though I do like that main melody it provides. Um, but yeah, I went first last time, so I'm gonna throw it over to you because I'm really
Okay.
curious
Like,
to
really,
hear what
the
your
worst of all the Metroid games, worse than Other M?
yeah, I'm gonna say it's worse than Other M. Yeah, I
Okay. Cap. Cap. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. You know what this is? That's a cap. That's you. But
I'll
we'll,
raise you my glass.
but anyway, I just broke my cap. I didn't break it, but the rubber on it came off. Anyway, here's my pick for what I think is the least impressive song in the Dread soundtrack, which is overall disappointing. Yes, but I re-listened to it before this podcast, and I was thinking, okay, it's not as horrible as I remember. Maybe it's just because I'm now satisfied after Prime 4 as a soundtrack was just miles better. But my least favorite song from the Dread soundtrack, this might be a hot take, I don't know, but it's got to be Ravenbeak's theme, like the battle theme specifically, because it's just like
That's fair.
here's the final battle in the entire Metroid story arc. Like this isn't just the final boss in the game. This is like the final boss of like the 5-part Metroid story saga. And what do we hear for a final boss theme? Dun, 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 dun. Whoever just they just put a kid in front of a piano and it was just, first of all, the piano on its own is fine, but like I don't hear a final boss theme, like the final boss theme, like a good one at least when I hear that Ravenbeak theme. It just sounds awfully synthetic, kind of like the rest of the soundtrack, really. Just
Right.
lots of synthesized music that doesn't really aid the atmosphere all that much. And so I kind of wanted like epic grand battle theme. Like even themes from previous Metroid games, like the Rundis battle theme sounds like a final boss theme, even though he's like the third or fourth one. This was
Right.
disappointing beyond belief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, imagine thinking Dread soundtrack is better than Prime 4's. Couldn't be me. Um,
Right?
um, my thing, and I guess I'll talk to, even though a lot of my podcast listeners, they already know my thoughts. My big issue with Metroid Dread soundtrack, specific reason why I think the soundtrack doesn't work is because of those instrumentation choices. I feel like a lot of the instruments, because the thing is, I would argue the Metroid Prime soundtrack also sounds very synthetic, but but the synthetic instrumentation choices are very smartly made in that game. And
Yes.
again, like, you listen to Fendrana Drifts, and even though the choirs are obviously not being sang by a real choir because of the pitch that they're saying in, when you combine that with, the actual sound effects and the ambience that's just happening in all of the rooms of Fendrana Drifts, it all melds together. And rather than sounding, like a fake synthesized choir, it almost sounds like it's an alien choir, like a Chozo choir, like greeting you to the area. And
Right.
Metroid Prime's music, and even like, Super Metroid, it does that a lot with it makes smart instrument choices that again make that music feel like it's a natural extension of the environment, and it kind of bridges, that fourth wall between the player and the game. And Metroid Dread, I think, is the one of the worst examples possible. Because even Federation Force, like almost that whole soundtrack is just a pile of nothing. But like at least the orchestral instruments sound like orchestral instruments. They're not trying to bridge the gap between the player and the game. And so even though it's a pile of nothing, they at least theoretically sound like sure an orchestra could be behind that. Metroid Dread, it tries to do that, but it uses just awful instrumentation, and like a lot of the choices sound almost toy-like, like they would fit better in like a Mario Galaxy. And none of these pieces of music excel in that more than the SQ fight and the Z57 themes, which I think are the two worst pieces of Metroid music ever composed, even worse than the SAX theme in Metroid Fusion. I hate these themes so much. I use the word goofy a couple of times to describe some of the music. I think the SQ theme is easily like the goofiest theme ever. Like what, and it's a shame because like most of the boss fights in Dread, A tier boss fight. Like Metroid Dread's bosses are on another level. I wish that they had really good music backing them for the most part, but yeah, SQ, it almost sounds, it's weird. It almost sounds like this kind of happy go lucky type of theme.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's trying to do like a fly to the bumblebee type of theme to match. And I get why they're doing this. SQ is kind of like a bee like type of boss, but it just sounds really silly and playful rather than dreadful, which is what Metroid Dread should feel like. And there's a couple of instances, like I think a lot of the Emmy music really does a good job of like invoking some of that sense of dread. But yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of the music, I would say, oddly like really goes against that. And I hear a lot of people saying that like, oh, the problem with Metroid Dread is that it's not memorable, and that it focuses too much on ambience. I disagree with that entirely. I,
Hmm.
I I think it's the playful and the silliness of it, which I'm guessing is unintentional, but that's just kind of how I perceive it. I think that's what really goes against Metroid Dread. Another example, and again, not my pick, but I'm on my throne, so I'm going to be rambling for a little bit more. Cataris, it has this tuba that's like the main instrument, and that tuba just like kills all of that tension and atmosphere in that area for me. I think a tuba just does not belong in Metroid at all. Again, it almost sounds like a fart that's coming out every time that tuba goes whump, 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 and it just doesn't do it for me at all. Anyways, um Joey, I've gone off on quite a tangent there. What is your pick for the worst song in Metroid Dread?
Oh, I already said it.
Oh, that's right. You did Ravenbeak. That's right. I was
Yes,
just
it was.
I was so lost in the sauce I forgot.
I
Yeah,
get it
Ravenbeak is
though.
also, yeah, nowhere near my least favorite piece of music. I think Ravenbeak is fine on its own, but the problem, to me, Ravenbeak sounds like the final boss of a Zelda game, not a Metroid game. Like it
Yeah.
feels like, and a lot of Metroid Dread's music, I think it just is music that feels like it belongs in a completely different game. And I think that's like my biggest issue with Metroid Dread's
Yeah.
music in general.
Right. Right. But thank God for Prime 4's soundtrack. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of swapped roles. Dread was like peak except for the music. Prime 4, I mean, it had a little bit more going besides the music, but I know we exchanged this in DMs back when the game first came out, but I was pretty disappointed in Metroid Prime 4,
Yeah, I mean, they
unfortunately.
made us wait 8 years for that. I get it. Like, man, if you're gonna make us wait that long, make it better. Like, I still think the game is good, but it's just like a game like that should be
Mhm.
great. It should be fantastic. It should be Game
It
of the Year
has
material.
it has moments. It has like fantastic moments.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, with those, kind of like Microsoft, with those moments comes some stepping on rakes, unfortunately. It's from
At
at least
least
for
nobody's
me.
getting laid off, I think.
Right. For real, Jesus. But you know what? We're here to talk about what makes us happy about Metroid Prime 4, and I'm glad both of us agree that Metroid Prime 4's music was a much needed step in the right direction for the series. I was talking a little bit about this when we were reviewing Metroid Prime 4, but if I were to rank the soundtrack, I think I think at least right now I put it slightly below Metroid Prime 3. I think Prime 4 has better peaks, but I think Prime 3 for its overall experience is a little bit more consistent than Prime 4. I think because I think for me, Prime 4, a lot of its best music happens between the start of the game and Ice Belt, and then I think once you hit Flare Pool, it starts to peter out a little bit. But most of the music in the game also happens within that first section up to Ice Belt. So I think at the end I still give it like a 4 out of 5.
Yeah,
But
that's a good
that
score.
but I s- but I still give it to Corruption just because I think it's a little bit more consistent throughout.
Right. I
Um
agree.
And then let's see. You went first last time, so I'll go first this time, I
Do
guess.
it.
My do it. Um one of my big critiques with Prime 4 is I think it over relies a little bit too much on guitar, which is funny because my favorite track in the game, the Volt Forge generator,
Yes.
heavily utilizes guitar. That's my
That theme is
that's like
so good. That's my favorite too.
yeah, that is all time. I don't know where that ranks in like my all-time Metroid music. I would imagine that's pretty high up. That theme is like angelic. I adore it so much. But I really think it would have been stronger if the guitar was specifically utilized just for the Volt Forge and like Volt Forge adjacent items like the Zelios fight, the Viola bike. I think the guitar should have been limited to just that. Maybe a little bit for Silex. I think he can get away with it too
Yeah.
because electric guitar, electricity. I think there's a good bridge
His
there.
theme's
But
really good too. His final battle
mhm,
theme. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, and of course the riff that plays after the Space Pirate theme in the intro, like I think everyone popped off hearing that guitar riff. But yeah, there's a lot of other places in the game that utilize the guitar where I think it takes away a lot from the experience, where it makes the guitar feel less like, this unique storytelling device and more just like I want to put guitar in the game because guitar sounds badass, which fair, but I think guitar has been more smartly used in the Metroid Prime games before. And I think the Griever battle theme in particular really emphasizes the guitar taking away more than adding to a piece of music, and so that's going to be my pick for the
Mm.
worst song in Metroid Prime 4. Really, because the Grievers, and again, ignoring the game story because I don't want to go on that path, but just in the moment to moment combat of the game, like the Grievers should be an action focused thing, but it should also feel intimidating, should feel a little bit intense. And I think the guitar just kind of takes away all of that atmosphere that at least for me, I think the Grievers should be getting off, and it just kind of sounds like just kind of a generic rock theme,
Yeah,
which I don't really think works in favor of that piece of music.
I
So I don't know if that's
understand.
spicy take or not, but that's
I
my
don't think it
pick.
is. I don't think it is at all. But my take should be like the coldest take, I feel like.
Okay.
At first I was gonna go on the trend of hating on Magmore Caverns remixes, and I was gonna say Flare Pool. But here's the thing. It was gonna be between Flare Pool and the Great Minds theme. I've since listened to the Great Minds theme twice before like recording this, and I've already forgotten it. And I think how ceremonious would it be that the worst song in the game is also the part of the worst area in the game? Like it's just bland, like everything in about it is just I can't even describe the song to you because I don't remember it. I just remember it being just a little overly atmospheric, not much music going on in there. It's just boring like the location it's set in.
What if I told you that an alternate version of that song plays when you are watching that Lamorne data terminal in the ice belt.
What? No, you're
I'm
kidding.
dead
No, I
serious.
believe you.
Not the exact same piece of music, an alternate, slightly different version of the game or the of that theme that doesn't have those those bass drums in the beginning. The doo, doo, doo. It
Mhm.
doesn't have those, but otherwise it's the exact same piece of music.
How bizarre. Yeah. Other than
Um
that, I love Prime 4's soundtrack, and I'm glad, like, I wish if there was one thing for them to get right, the game would have been nice, but I'm still glad they got the soundtrack right.
right. Yeah, take what you did with Prime 4's music and do that with Metroid 6 and I think we're going to have something very special.
Yep.
At least in my opinion. I don't think Andy and Dak would agree with that, but
Well,
you
they're
know,
wrong.
everyone's got to be wrong sometimes, you know.
Yep, there are dozens of us, Reese. Dozens.
But yeah, that is all of the main Metroid games. I did put as a little bonus Super Smash Brothers. I don't know. You were telling me before chat that you didn't really have any recollection of any of the Metroid Smash covers,
Yeah,
so
and
I
I
think
don't have any recollection either. I also think I don't have time to cover all that either. I will say that.
that's you know what, that's fine. I can make mine real quick.
Okay.
My pick for the worst Smash Brothers songs. This was another tie for me. I picked um the versus Parasite Queen theme from Ultimate as well as theme of Samus Aran Space Warrior from Brawl. And the thing with Parasite Queen, you would not believe this. This song was done by Motoi Sakuraba, who for those who don't know is the freaking Dark Souls composer.
What? I'm
Um
listening to it
yeah,
right now just to refresh my memory.
yeah, he's the Dark Souls composer. He also does a lot of the Mario sports games, which is a very funny dichotomy there. But yeah, when most people think of Sakuraba, they think of Dark Souls. And so I was like really excited, like, oh, what's gonna be like a Dark Souls sounding Metroid theme? And this is not it at all. And again, I wouldn't even mind so much like kind of the more rock take that they do on this. I think the Brinstar theme in this game is really good, which uses that.
Yes.
But I don't really like the instrument selection. The drums also feel like they're just a little bit out of sync from the rest of the instruments. I don't know what it is, but there's something about the drums and the syncopation that just doesn't work from there. Um, and
Hmm.
then and then Theme of Samus Aran Space Warrior on its own, it's a fine track. My biggest issue with this is that this theme is not the theme of Samus Aran Space Warrior. This is the Super Metroid credits disguised as the theme of Samus Aran Space Warrior. Theme of Samus Aran Space Warrior is my favorite track from Super Metroid, and I was very unhappy when I first listened to it and realized that this was not it at all. Which, for those who don't know, theme of Samus Aran Space Warrior is the theme that plays when you revisit Crateria. And it's one of my all-time favorite pieces of Metroid music. This song is not it, and so I feel this is another personal vendetta pick of mine where I was robbed, I was attacked, and so now I dislike this piece of
You were
music.
dragged into the street and beaten by
It's
Sakurai
true.
himself.
It's true. It's a
Poor
hate
guy.
crime because I hated it.
Oh, I love the office memes. The best.
But yeah, we just went from 86 to 2025. We covered every single Metroid game, including the ones that some of you might have forgotten about. Um yeah, that's gonna do it for today's episode, Joey. How are you feeling right now?
Feeling jazzed because we just talked about music, you know?
You like jazz?
You like jazz? I just watched that. I just showed my son that movie the other day.
Nice.
Yeah.
What did he think of that? I've
I
actually
mean,
never seen B movie.
he likes he pretty much likes whatever I throw at him sometimes. Sometimes he just won't care. But this was one of those movies where he liked it. He's not dying to watch it again, like he was with K-pop Demon Hunters for a while. But
That's fair. K-pop Demon Hunters was great. I enjoyed that.
oh man, he loves the music. He hasn't watched it in a while though. His go-to right now is Peppa Pig, really.
Okay. I can't say I've watched a lot of Peppa Pig. I'm mostly familiar with the memes more than the actual
Of
show.
course. So you haven't seen B movie, but you've given how many
Yeah.
memes there are for that movie, you've probably have inadvertently watched the whole
Right?
movie.
It's probably one of those movies, I believe it. But
Yes.
yeah, folks, that is going to do it for tonight's episode of the Omega Metroid podcast. Joey, you need to get some sleep. I need to get editing on this thing so that we can upload this thing tomorrow morning.
Oh man.
Um, yeah, fun. I'm so glad I'm working a closing shift tomorrow. If I was opening tomorrow, I would I would TOS myself.
Oh man. TOS.
Yeah. But yeah, that's gonna do it for us today, folks. But before you head out, you gotta leave a like on the video if you're watching on YouTube, or leave a comment if you're watching on any of the other platforms where you could be watching. I mean, you gotta. We're obligated to tell you to do that every
Yes.
time. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. If they have podcasts, we're almost certainly there. And then while you're at it, go check out OmegaMetroid.com, your number one stop for Metroid news, opinion pieces, walkthroughs, and of course, an archive of all of our episodes of the Omega Metroid podcast. And, you know, even better than liking the video, leaving a comment, checking out the website, is giving us your money. Don't forget to check out the Patreon. You go to sp.net, you can check out our lower tiers if you just want the Omega Metroid podcast, or if you want all of Andy's podcasts in one tier. You can do the $10 tier and you'll have access to the Omega Metroid podcast, the Zelda cast, Virtual Theater, Andy's new Lord of the Rings podcast. It's all there in the $10 tier. So if you want tons of content, it's all there for you. That's going to do it for us today. Again, I'd like to thank Joey Ferris for being clutch and joining me on tonight's episode. Always have a blast talking with you.
A blast ball, you could say.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, thanks again. And for the rest of y'all, I'll see you next week, and I'll see you all next mission.